Welcome to Yeti Set Go. This is our bi-weekly show here on YetiGamer. This is episode 2. I am hosting today. I'm Kurtis. I am joined to my right by Shelp. I'm below me by Sean. And down over there, Nate. So today's topics are actually going to be about esports. Quite a different topic than last week when we were talking about game storefront, or last episode when we was talking about digital storefronts. But I think the overall first thing we should get into, like esports in general, like what is it that makes some games actual good esports and like successful, and why do some like never pick up? Because everybody tries to be an esport anymore, you know, anything that's like a competitive multiplayer, but it definitely doesn't work out for everyone. So any thoughts on that to kick things off?
I mean, I think it's a plethora of different things. So you have things like Melee, which is a nothing that home grew into one of the biggest esports there is even still.
Yeah.
And then you have things like Dota and League, which have, and CS:GO, which have company backing, to help push things forward. And then Overwatch too, where like they're like coming out. Well, I don't know. We'll see how Overwatch lasts. But they had super strong name recognition from Blizzard that pushed it, and they're the most probably involved in their esports community. So there's, I would say, definitely different variables. I guess I could keep out, and then so my thing, I think the ease of entry for things like Melee, and then the early esports like even CS:GO, which was a mod off of Half-Life, right? Yep. That it was homegrown because it was like skill based, and you could team up with your friends, you could play, and there's a very low entry, especially back then, low skill entry. So and everyone could have fun, and then eventually it got more and more competitive. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the Melee documentary, but
I've seen most of it. It's like 8 hours long, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it
like
is a lot.
4 2-hour videos on YouTube. Like I saw it, and I put up the first one. I was like, oh, it's 2 hours, great. And then like getting to the end, I'm like, God, like we're nowhere near like pro play yet. It's still just people's houses. And then like I saw the list. It's like there's 3 more. I'm like, oh fuck that. I am not watching 8 hours of this shit. Like it was interesting, but damn.
Yeah, so like people just like they just gravitated to it, and like I think that those low barriers help people get into things, and then but because you can continuously learn, like I don't know, I think that makes a game more viable, especially when it's a game that's doesn't genre that doesn't exactly exist. There's definitely no platform fighters. That just didn't exist before.
No.
Smash.
I mean, as a game that didn't exist. Isn't Smash like Smash 64 was like the first platform fighter, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then
I mean,
like although that never became a competitive like game, you know, it never got a scene like Melee.
I know. If we're talking about platform like fighters, I guess the earliest would be like, is it Javelin, where you're flying on the ostriches like back on Atari?
Like, there's stuff like that, but that's not even like really a fighter.
Balloon
it
fighter?
was Joust is what you're thinking of.
Or Joust, yes.
But like,
I'd say Balloon Fighter would be a really fighting game.
I mean that's another one that like they're arcade. That's different necessarily. Like those are
so the only thing
they
had
weren't
were
fighters because like you still didn't have like punch, kick, grab, which is like Smash is the first one to take.
You don't have
that.
combos.
Yeah.
And then like even Smash, so Melee, and then even CS:GO too was one of the other first ones. That was kind of the first real competitive shooter, so that's why I think it took off. So having that grassroots movement definitely helps.
So I mean, like in modern games though, like what do we think? I mean, even if we just stick with like Smash Brothers. Because, like, Melee was successful, and so obviously there's a huge following. And then Brawl, its competitive scene maybe existed a year, and then died. And
Yeah,
4 has
that's true.
kind of hung around, like here and there people still play 4, but it never completely overtook Melee, it feels like. Like it kind of kept even footing with it for a while.
Yeah.
I feel like Ultimate finally has a chance to stick around. At least that's like the early impression I'm getting from the community around Ultimate.
Well,
is like
Smash
people...
4 is basically dead because Ultimate is
Right.
now everyone that played Smash 4 now moved to Ultimate. So
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, Brawl was dead because everybody who played Brawl went back to Melee.
That's
Yeah.
well, that's because Brawl was
Yeah, Brawl had tripping.
Well, yeah,
and
that's
lots of
the
bad
thing
stuff.
is specific when it comes to what makes a competitive game, really fun.
Yeah.
Specifically with Smash Brothers, there are games that are poor when it comes to pro play, and there are games where it's a huge deal. And I think that mainly has to do with the pacing of the game. Because esports follows the same kind of formula as your normal sports game would, and what makes it exciting and what makes a comeback really cool, what makes an underdog really interesting, or what makes an absolute domination just awesome. So Smash is something that, it follows that same pattern, and you see a lot of different storylines play out in a single match. And that's really exciting for the audience. That's what draws in money, and that's what draws in all of this recent intrigue. Same with Overwatch. Overwatch has a lot of money behind it because it just follows that formula of, what makes a good fighting game good.
Right.
That's my take on
esports
it.
game,
Yeah.
competitive game.
Yeah.
So those games I was talking about, like I definitely think there's definitely times when games come in, and we're at the point now where you almost can't come up with an original idea at this point.
Yeah.
So like those games that got in early, like Melee, CS:GO, Dota in the beginning, like those got they're seen from not money, but or even people watching in the beginning. It was just because people were having fun.
Right. People setting up
then-
their own tournaments and that, like,
Yes.
growing into a network.
But now, where we get to the things like Overwatch and what else we got going on right now?
Fortnite and PUBG kind of have things going on.
Yeah.
They're not to that same level, though.
No,
I wouldn't be
mean,
surprised, though, with Apex Legends that just came out. Since that's a squad-based game, I wouldn't be shocked to see that take off a little bit. Like, teams, having a three-man squad that they send out to tournaments.
Yeah, I think if we're talking Battle Royale, that's got to be the one that's most likely
No,
to do
no,
something, I
Tetris
feel.
99 will dominate the Battle Royale market.
Yes, that's true.
Another
Fuck
big
them.
one would be World of Warcraft Arena. Their pro play is super big. Not as big anymore, unfortunately, but it has a huge following.
StarCraft as well.
StarCraft.
Yeah, StarCraft too. Yeah.
So I like
StarCraft
something.
is.
Oh, go ahead, Nate.
I was just gonna say, StarCraft is its own kind of, but like it's definitely a front runner in its own genre right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked something that Nate pointed out, that the pace of a game matters a lot, because it is like traditional sports. Like, yeah, some people like watching golf, but like that's a more minority. More people like enjoy playing golf than like watching it on TV. And it's basketball, football, like soccer. Unless it's the Spanish teams from the early 2000s, like that's fun and exciting. There's the pace that matters. And I mean, I guess that could speak to a little bit like why Brawl never got that popular, because like the pace was slower than the already established enjoyable version. And so I wonder how heavily that plays in, because I mean, honestly, for me, that's part of the reason I don't want to watch something like Fortnite, because the pace of that game can be obscenely slow for long stretches.
One thing that I want to bring up with that is the idea of like League and Dota being as big as they are, when technically you could play most of the game being a farm game. You could sit there and CS most of the game, but still it's the moments of going in to face an opponent or something like that tends to pull people to the game, because it's not the moments you're farming, even though that is a large majority of the game.
Right.
And objective control, but that's a completely different story in terms of, as opposed to platform fighters. And,
Yeah, I feel like in that sense, it's kind of like soccer, where like a lot of that is moving around the field, getting position, pushing the defense into bad form, and then taking advantage of it, and that's the team fight portion. When you finally get a play in the box or a shot on frame.
That's true. That's true.
'Cause I actually enjoy watching, because I enjoy watching soccer more than most.
Yeah,
most
and it's not for
games.
everyone. And I would say the same thing goes for a MOBA. Like, watching a MOBA is not for everyone because it's heavily about the strategy going on the map as a whole. Like, soccer's a lot about watching the strategy on the field as a whole. And the same goes for, like, baseball. Like, although that's more like numbers strategy, where it's like, okay, well, this guy's bad against lefties, and this lefty, our lefty actually has a terrible slider though, and that's the only pitch this guy misses. Like, there's all that inside information you need, and that almost becomes more like fighting games sometimes, where you're like, oh, I know that this fighter is a good counter to this fighter. Actually, I'd say more like StarCraft. StarCraft is super complex. StarCraft 2 is cool and all, and whenever like something like crazy happens, I'll go like look up the VOD and like check it out, but my understanding of what happened is so low. Yeah, it's like baseball. It's like, oh, hey, he got a single. Like, I understand he got a single, double, whatever, but I don't understand all the inside shit that happens to get to that point. I'm just like, he swung and connected.
Yeah, I actually got the privilege to go to a Colorado Avalanche hockey game like 2 days ago. Actually, they were playing I think St. Louis, and it was actually wild because it was a kind of game where it's 3 innings long and they're all 20 minutes each, I believe, and it was 0-0 through the first 2 innings, so it was just intense.
Period.
What?
They're called periods.
Period. I thought it was an inning at the
innings.
Whatever.
We were talking about baseball. We'll let you slide.
But it was just like, whoever scores the first goal is probably going to win at this point, because they haven't been able to,
Oh, if you get that late
get
in the
in.
game, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So each goal was just like, the entire thing was a riot in there.
Yeah.
And Colorado actually ended up losing because St. Louis got the first. Yeah, well, bad luck, y'all. But they ended up losing. They got St. Louis got the first, and then it was just downhill from there. And they ended up scoring 2 more times. So it was really similar to that kind of thing, where it's just like, this is what's getting the crowd insanely loud, is whenever it comes down to the wire, especially in Smash. Last stock is always the worst.
Yeah, no, and like that's the thing. Like, Smash games where there's that like closeness is generally innate in it are more exciting too. Like something like Smash Bros, where you only have a couple stocks, so like even if you get up to stock, there's always that chance still, kind of thing. It's like League. Like, okay, somebody has a 10K lead. Like, this probably isn't gonna fucking come back.
Yeah,
like, it can be really anticlimactic. Just like a normal like point scoring sport, like higher point scoring sports like football and basketball, where it's like, well, yeah, you're up fucking 30 points in basketball. The game's over, okay?
Yeah.
So
that's why I'm not really a fan of MOBAs, because it is like, all right, you get a couple kills ahead, you basically won the game. So like, not as much in pro, but like that's why I can't play it, and that's why I don't think I watch it as much, because I don't like that. It's just like a game's over when in the like farming phase, like.
And they did make some changes to try to make that not be the case, where you can't just get ahead extremely quickly or take a tower or something. I feel like they're making changes to try to make that better, but it's still not to the point where I agree with you.
Oh, yeah.
You can get ahead to the point where it's not going to matter.
Yeah, League is very intentionally right, is making changes to make comebacks more possible, because it does make it for a better spectator sport. Like, as much as you hear players bitch somewhat, and like pro players being like, oh, well, that's not fair, I did all this work to get there, it's like, yeah, but it's a spectator sport, like at this point it's not about whether or not it feels completely skill based. It's like, there's still obviously skill involved, and not letting those comeback mechanics come into play is a skill. It's not Mario Kart rubber banding, where it's like, oh, you're behind, you go faster.
Drafting what is obnoxious. No, blue shells don't make games. You know what I mean? Everybody hates the blue shell, even if you're not winning. It's just like, sorry, dude.
You got blue shell.
Like, I don't know what to say, man. I'm gonna make a quick adjustment to my setup.
Okay. So, I mean, we talked a little bit about what makes like an actual successful game, and like it seems, pace obviously has to do the ease of entry because, I mean, just like any other sport, like playing it is something that makes you fall in love with it, and then you want to watch it on top of it, things like that. So let's diverge a little bit from what makes it successful into specifically how much does the longevity of a game matter when it comes to being an esport? Because like there's ones that are still around, like Melee's still around to a point, StarCraft 1's still around a bit, League of Legends is almost a decade now, and then there's
CS:GO.
Yeah, CS:GO's been around a decade, like you have those games, and you have newer ones like Hearthstone and such that seem like they'll stick around, but there are ones that have like cropped up and left. And how much does the longevity of the game outside of the esport itself matter? Can it like continue on even though it's not necessarily being played? Like, because something like Melee, I think that would apply to, where, okay, Melee ran its course, and then there was Brawl, and then there was 4, and Melee was still being played as an esport.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we're not talking about Splatoon 2, but just kidding.
We should.
I don't know why
Like,
I don't know why
Splatoon 2
Nintendo
is one of those
put
that it should be successful as a sport based on like the things we just talked about, but it's not.
Nintendo sucks at controls, and that's just a whole nother.
They suck at supporting their games as an esport. Yeah.
No, but for like Melee specifically, I think that there wasn't like Brawl, obviously, and then Smash 4 was. They were just slower. They're not the games that people that were playing Melee wanted to play.
You're gonna say the kids.
No, because they're older than me. I mean, even though I play a ton of Melee, but that's why Project M cropped up, and it was huge for a long time. It was almost rivaling the Melee scene until. Not for a long time. Even during Smash 4's cycle, it was still huge. All the top players from a lot of the top players from Project M transferred to Smash 4. Nairo, Zero. I can't name names right now, but
Mango was probably one of them.
Well, but he's one of those ones that didn't transfer over to Smash 4. But I think now that Ultimate is now a quicker, more kind of read based, like if you get hit you die kind of thing.
It is the first one that they've actually consulted pro players.
Yes, Nintendo finally trying.
That was a really smart move. That is a smart
move.
Now, if they'd consult players, gamers who play games online about how to fucking run their online, maybe they could.
Correct.
Just sell their online to Microsoft. Get that Xbox Live.
I've said forever they should have poached one person from Sony and one person from Microsoft who had worked in those divisions and just said, "Hey, we'll do whatever you say." But that's getting off topic a bit. So I'm curious, like. Because, like, all of your traditional sports, their leagues have been around for fucking ever. I mean, the NFL, if you go back to, like, before it combined and stuff, with the AFL or whatever they absorbed, like, they're got to be close to 100 years old. Baseball's well over 100 years old. Soccer, FIFA as a body is, like, younger, but, like, individual leagues have been around longer, too. Like, all these sports have been being played for generations. And the longest running esports, which would be, CS:GO, League of Legends, StarCraft, those in StarCraft has mostly moved on to StarCraft 2 and Pro Play, I think at this point finally, hasn't?
Yeah, StarCraft 2, they're past that, but StarCraft 2 I think is the bigger one.
Yeah.
It's like how Melee dominated.
Right, Melee's finally like falling out. So like, and so yeah, if you include Smash Brothers, I guess is a series, and then you can get into like the fine games like Street Fighter and stuff too. But I think if you look at the ones that haven't even changed over hands, you're looking at like CS:GO and League, and like they've only been around like a decade, and you have to wonder how much longer they're going to be able to stick around. Like something like League, they've completely revamped the way the game looks, so it basically looks like League 2. But if they keep adding characters, does that eventually become unwieldy?
That's why I like it. I think there's a huge barrier to entry on League just on the number of fucking characters.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Well, it's
when I
like
go in there-
CS:GO, because nothing's changed. The skill barrier is huge because of it too.
Yeah. I think, like you said, that there's only a few sports that are currently being played. There's other sports. I mean, even if we include cricket as one of those long
Oh yeah.
sports.
Cricket, polo, rugby.
Yeah, so there's only like so many of them, even if some of them are smaller. I do think genres will eventually gravitate towards a game or even a company like that makes the game better. I do think League has a good model of making the same game better. But I think that adding so many characters kind of throws people off. Maybe I don't know what they could do about that, because you always got to add new characters to make a game interesting. But I don't know. So I think there's gonna be like the 2D fighters, the 3D, the platform fighters, shooters, and then I don't even know what else we've got going.
I like how you almost said 3D fighters. You're like, no, nobody plays those anymore. We all decided they were
No.
garbage and moved away from them.
I mean,
Two-dimensional fighters. They're 3D, but they're
Right? Yeah. No, but there's no 3D space. Yeah.
Mhm.
Were you
I
gonna
mean,
say, Dan?
personally, I think it's all what is being run by the community that's going to be popular. I mean,
yeah.
Smash started just because people, pooled money, bought a house together, and started streaming Smash tournaments out of there, and then it grows from there, and then it grows actually partnering companies, and that's what makes it huge, and that's what makes a game company actually invest in their pro sports portion. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Tiger Claw mentioned, like with League, I get that from a casual standpoint, it definitely like can bring in more players. Like there's characters, like you think of that, but it is kind of daunting, like when you go into a game and it has that many.
Yeah,
Because I see that issue and I understand it. Because like something like Smite or Paladins or whatever that I might be interested in checking out, then I see how many characters there are. And I'm like, you know what? Nah. Because I'm gonna spend my first several dozen matches continually getting my butt kicked by something I don't understand how it works.
Yeah, League is. I played till I got to low silver, basically, and then but I was still almost every like other match I was playing against a character I had no idea what the fuck it could do.
Yeah.
Like, so that was just not. There's how many other characters are they have? Like
There's 150, I think. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're
Go ahead.
the fact that they're making changes on the weekly too. It's it's simple things of damages and things like that. Knowing the matchups, knowing that type of thing. The base skill level is insane.
That doesn't affect as a spectator thing as much, but
No.
still
That's
having
true.
that many characters can be rough as a spectator too. Because like if I watch basketball, like okay, I don't have to know all the players, like because you have to know like the 5-6 different positions or like zone defense and stuff to understand it. Football gets more complicated, especially like with all the different rules of when can you hold, when can you push, when can you do all these different things. And like baseball, while at the base it's actually really simple rules and positions, like weird shit happens and you can get so confused because it's like, oh yeah, this rule that hasn't been used in 30 years applies now.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's part of the mass appeal of like something like soccer, where it's just like, okay, you can't fucking touch it with anything past your shoulder down. You can't fucking touch it with that, and you can't pass it to somebody who doesn't have a defender and the goalie behind him. Done.
Yeah. I actually have a question about you, League of Legends.
Yeah.
So, one complaint that that Melee has in particular with the pro play is that there's only about 4 or 5 characters that are actually viable for.
So Smash is active, or I'm sorry, League is actively being patched. So
So
while
they
there's
kind of rotate
certain,
through the meta.
yeah, while they're tiered, there's always like, oh, these are really good in this role, this role, right now. That changes as they make changes to numbers. It's
That's
constantly
good.
being balanced, and
So
Yeah.
they make
Character-
overhauls in the way the game plays every year too. So there's like a big change every offseason to keep the game fresh.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Like-
You know what else they're doing to keep it fresh? KDA. Because that's the weirdest.
the pop star shit, yeah.
Yeah, how much?
I thought you meant something completely different.
Yeah,
No, not
Kill Death,
your-
yeah. No, and that's where they got the name, obviously. But yeah, they did like a Korean pop star group song thing for the Worlds last year.
Do you guys think that's helping their scene of?
Oh yeah.
You think
the music stuff that League does brings so many people to like check it out because like those videos always hit top like trendy on YouTube, and so people are like,
true.
"What's this? Ooh!" And like so many people are like, "I don't know what this K-pop like song is, but I like K-pop right now. Ooh, these characters are pretty cool. What's this from? League of Legends. What the fuck is League of Legends?" Now, maybe 2% of people who didn't know what League was and saw that video played it at all after that. But if even 1% of those 2% actually stick with the game, you gained a few thousand new players.
That's true.
And the people who already play it love it. So like that works. But let's see what else we have here.
I was gonna say
Sean.
that Fat Boy Tub.
Tub. I love Tub.
Yeah, I think video games don't work as sports because they're harder to get into and more complicated than normal sports like baseball and soccer.
Let's go with
I
one
would
point
argue
at a
the
time. Let's go with the
rules.
2 points. Yeah. So
So the rules. Okay, so
harder to get
I'm gonna
into.
go first. I'm gonna go with complicated first because
okay. I think that's the bigger
question.
one.
That's the easier. I think it's an easier question to answer. Do you know all the rules to football? Like I used to play football and like they change them all the time. Like there's a lot of rules.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Rules in major leagues get changed every offseason. There's a rules commission that meets on it and changes it every season. And I'd argue that while some video games are way more complicated,
yes,
like something like a MOBA can be stupid complicated because of like League of Legends. There's all the in League of and Dota both they have all the items and then you have mechanics with minions and then jungle creeps and blah blah blah. So much stuff. But something like Street Fighter, I mean, each character has their light and heavy punch, kick, low high, like you have all that stuff. It's pretty simple, and it's like, okay, whoever does more damage wins. And granted, they've added complexity with not just combos, which that's complexity too, but then there's your special moves that you can do in that stuff. So like they've added complexity, but I still say like the simplest video games are probably around the same as the simplest sports. Whereas the most complicated video games probably go beyond the most complicated sports, but still.
Yeah. I would say like fighters are even like, okay, I don't know the frame, like, okay, I'm into competitive Smash Bros. And I know some frame data that other people don't know, but I also don't know how much the Seahawks QB's what his 40 is, or their quarterback's 40. Like, so like, so I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's something that you have to.
You don't know in a jet sweep how many men on the on the strong side of the line need to shift to make that work. Things like that.
Yeah.
I think
if people who don't understand football to that level just go, "What the fuck were the words that just came out of Kurtis's mouth?" It's like, no, those made sense.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so.
But, if you start talking about like frame,
the intricacies
Smash
of sports and the intricacies of like competitive video games can get very, very deep. Just like how baseball is a super simple sport, but then it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think baseball is like always one of those really good examples for like where the surface is simple but the rules and the way the game is played is just insanely deep. And it's a lot like fighting games can be in that sense. Where like Street Fighter is really simple on the surface, but then people are like, oh yeah, no, this exact hitbox and like this exact frame and blah blah blah. It's just okay. I don't understand any of that, but you do it well, so good job.
Yeah. It really is. It's like watching someone play chess, just like like it's just like I have no clue what you're doing or what's going through your head, but you're doing it.
So I would to get back to Tub's comment. I would say they are a little harder to get into, but only because they're not as ubiquitous. And I would say individual games, yes, it is harder to get into them, but genres of games are not that hard to get into. Like fighters versus shooters versus strategy games.
Like you can shooters and then just keep playing them until you find the one that fits you the best. Kind of thing.
Yeah, like you. Can, like they're not hard. Like if you understand the general mechanics of how a shooter or a 2D fighter, a platform fighter, or RTS versus what is it, not RTS strategy game. What is it
Turn-based?
called? Turn-based strategy game. You kind of get the general sense of what's happening. Like I can pick up most because I enjoy Smash so much. I can pick up most platform fighters pretty quickly.
Mhm.
You mean the other Smash games?
The not Smash games.
Brawlhalla and stuff, yeah.
Brawlhalla. Yo, Slap City, so fun.
I've never even heard that. I'm gonna have to check that out now.
Yeah, I'm putting it down.
But so it's just like kind of the wild west right now. Like 10 years is nothing. Like you said, sports have been like
yeah, they've been around over a century, not just like where we're at. Oh man, you're making it over a decade. Way to go.
Do you think genres themselves will die out though? Do you think someday the MOBAs will die out?
So,
like, are battle royales gonna die out?
Are you saying like will specific genres stop existing, or do you mean like will all genre lines cease to exist, kind of thing?
No, but like, are they all gonna? Are we in such a fad right now of like the battle royales? Is that just gonna go away someday?
Certain game types, yeah. I mean, because there's certain like point and click adventures. Do those? I mean, they kind of exist, but they're not like so much a thing anymore.
That's
that will happen even I think with multiplayer stuff, and we're gonna come up with new ways to play. Like the battle royale thing's fairly new and novel. Now maybe that sticks around for a long time, and the squad based shooter goes away or something because people are just like, yeah, we've done it so well for so long. Like we find something new to move on into. Or you have something like Apex Legends where it takes the squad class based shooter and mixes it with battle royale.
Yeah, I think the only reason I don't like battle royale. Oh my god, why are we not all playing that right now? But
I know. Let's just do that.
We could. I just don't. I'm not a fan of battle royale games because, like you said, they're not fun to watch. First of all, and then also I don't like to play them because I don't like running around for almost half an hour and getting maybe 3 fights if I win. Like I could just die. Apex makes it a little better because it's actually a little easier to survive if your team wins the fight because your team can revive you, which is huge. I think that kind of survivability as a team mechanic should be a little stronger. Like losing all your shit. I also think people should start with something besides fucking punches, but make the dive downs interesting. Like they're not interesting. You just run away from each other until you find a gun, and then whoever finds the best gun first wins.
Genius idea. Your drop in should be like from Saints Row the Third, where it's a fucking tank battle midair. Just saying. Like you might be eliminated before you hit the fucking ground.
That would be actually
that'd be pretty
cool.
dope, right?
That would actually be really fun.
Like, and you could get into tanks and shoot, but you can also get out and like shoot your machine guns and shit. Dude, yeah. The Saints Row 3 like cargo drop fight. That should be how a battle royale game starts.
That would be awesome.
It should be like Hunger Games, where you all start within like the same you're like 5 feet apart, and
and you want to like it's like, okay, do I try and kill bitches or do I just try and run?
Yeah. Do you go get some people? Do you just go run?
It should be like the movie Battle Royale, where they like hand you a bag of shit as you like walk out the door.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man. Actually, I want to go back to something Duct Tape said a bit earlier.
I was just to bring that up.
He said the longevity of a pro game depends also on what's coming out in the future. Like PUBG, a lot of people were playing that, and then they moved to Fortnite. Now people are going to Apex Legends and Anthem. I think Anthem's another type of game and I don't know if that's going to become anything that's competitive. I don't know if there's a PvP stuff in that.
I'm sure there's a portion of it. I'm not 100% sure,
yeah,
but I would be willing to bet there is. It probably won't take off.
I think like that is important. It does matter what comes out next, especially when you're not necessarily doing it great. Because like PUBG was a buggy fucking mess. Still is.
Garbage.
And then you have something like Melee, which outlived its like self-made spawn, like its actual successors. It was just like, no, I'm better, basically, until now. And so you not only have to be better than the other people in the space, but if you're making, I guess there's kind of 2 routes here, where if your company's making more of that game, are those good enough to continue on that legacy? Or will they just like die because the other one's still better? Or will them being bad like kill the original? There's a lot of ways that could go.
I also think the battle royale space is so goddamn new that it's gonna be a bloodbath until something pulls out up front.
Yeah, that's
Apex
true.
right now, but what comes out next? What if Blizzard releases a solid? I mean,
Well,
Blizzard
it'll
does-
be new Blizzard, so it won't be good. But
I think as far as like esports goes, though, Apex has a good shot at it because kind of how you mentioned a bit earlier, like it can be really boring in Fortnite and PUBG because you just spend forever not doing anything, and even like if you have, you know, as an esport where you're casting and like trying to grab fights as they happen, like that's not as frequent and not as coherent as squads. Like you can see like 2 groups of 3 are getting close to each other. Okay, let's like check in, see what they're setting up, see if they see each other, and okay, you have this fight. Okay, now there's one over here. Although anything I feel that goes beyond a one-on-one like team thing, like whether it's, you know, 5 people on each team or whatever, as soon as you have more than 2 teams, it gets a bit hard to follow as a sport. I mean, is there a traditional sport out there that's a free-for-all in any way?
No.
I don't think so.
But like I think that could be resolved. I do agree with what you're saying. I think that could be resolved with how technology works. Like I don't know if you posted about this, the absolutely awful launch of Overwatch.
Yeah, it was so bad.
But their idea isn't bad.
Oh yeah.
I said yeah.
Well, actually, let's go ahead and move into that because that was the third big topic we wanted to bring up was esports and the way they actually interact with their audience. So not only the viewing experience, but like direct interaction. Like let's go ahead and talk about it. It was the Overwatch League All Access Pass that just launched. If you can call what happened to launch.
I mean, did you want to fill in anybody that is listening?
So actually, let me go ahead and talk about it a little bit. I'm gonna find the link. Yeah, and shit, I can't find the link. Somebody else find the link.
Yeah, I got it.
I kill all the cams when I change Discord.
I got it, Kurt.
Okay, so I'm just basically I'll go for unless you know more about it.
There we go. Duck golf is free for all, but you're not competing directly. You're competing in score. So unless we start introducing, so like something like Tetris would be close, but like we don't have any games where you're just like getting a score. You know.
I think score based like I just like my KD.
Shit. Message it to me in the chat we have going, Shelp, and I can grab it from there.
Okay.
Thanks.
It's the comment he's talking about. I don't think anything that's super score based, like how many kills I got, is going to be a good. Besides games where you're actually eliminating, like CS:GO, where like if your overall score you're not the last one standing. It's not going to be a fun. Like it's going to feel bad when that team wins that they died half an hour ago, even though they got a bunch of kills off some scrubs. So, but the Overwatch League thing. Or All Access Pass was they announced it so that you could watch multiple streams from different angles, so you could see both the overall, like the overhead, the caster's stream, which they can see everything, and then you could see from individual players' cams and just the entire team cam at once, so that you could see as many videos as you wanted, basically, just to see all the action happening at once. But that did not work out.
No, it is a kaleidoscope acid trip, which like that's how Engadget described it, and it's actually perfect because it is that neon colored garbled digital mess, and the audio is messed up. Like everything about it did not work properly, and it was a shit show.
No, but the idea is good.
I agree.
As people understand how the internet works and video compression. Where's Silicon Valley at with their video compression algorithm? Yeah. But it will get better, and eventually you will be able to just pick and choose what you want to see, if you want to see all of it or just a few players' perspectives or whatever.
Well, like this is a little different because obviously it's a first-person shooter game, but you've already been able to do that for years with Dota 2. You can watch all of their like the international. You can watch all of the games in client. And you can pick which announcers you want to listen to, which language or whatever. Like, and there's like non-pro announcers who like could get their stuff in there too, and you can link them and like listen to just some, us random a-holes like casting the match. And then you can either follow whatever the caster camera is, and I think for that it's only like the pro one, or you can direct the camera around yourself, and you can pull up all the stats and all that. Like Dota 2, at least at the international, you get to completely control the experience already. And granted, that's easier because it's just a camera and you move it around on the map.
Yeah,
But,
and I mean, I agree.
yeah.
And so the way Blizzard tried to do it is they actually were just grabbing Twitch streams, which is probably not the best way because it's probably not compressed enough. So
Yeah.
the way Dota 2 does it is they send you fucking everything, basically.
Yeah, you're
So
getting the
really,
game played in front of you.
Yes.
Which is
so
why it's
you're
in-client.
yeah, you have the same game that if you were even playing the game, you would have the same information come to your computer. So
Which
it's not that much more.
It makes me wonder, why is Blizzard not doing that with Overwatch? Why not have you, like, I mean, granted, it's not easy to, like, embed a spectator into the client now, whatever, but wouldn't that be the way to do it? Because then you can just, you know, press Q or W to cycle through the cameras of the different players, or, like, click an icon on the side that, like, jumps to their cam, and feed all the data.
Yeah.
I think so, yes, but I also think they didn't plan that. So to implement this, the thing that they were asked to implement, there was no they don't have an like, I bet that the way it's programmed, they only have the one in-flying cam around. So that to implement this way where you can just jump around everywhere for a bunch of people is not a thing they could technologically.
When you're dead in Overwatch, can't you jump between teammate cams?
Yeah.
So you're already able.
Yes.
You're able to cam switch already when you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be the same
you
thing.
can.
I think.
So-
I mean, like, it's
the
obviously a
thing
more
with-
complicated version.
Yeah.
But
So maybe whoever developed this whatever this
they were
what's
trying
it
to do
called?
something.
All
All
access
access pass.
So
Yeah.
maybe these people were not the developers of Overwatch. They were
outside.
they were
company.
they're or Blizzard themselves, an outside team.
Group, yeah.
Yeah, that didn't ask any, because I mean, as a developer, that shit happens all the goddamn time. Like,
yes.
I think Blizzard's always, or Overwatch always has done a lot of partnering with Twitch streamers. They always had that, like, Twitch streamer of the month that they always advertised, and it sounds like it's like a good deal for, you know, paying Blizzard to have your stream be one of the few that, I don't know, that you can cycle through, and then you get views through that, and it just kind of works itself out. Deal, maybe even a contract, I don't know, but that sounds like the reason for the difficulty in using Twitch streamers instead of just video game footage.
Now, I gotta say, I'm probably the minority here. So, but with this, you know, ability to, like, control what you're viewing and all of that, is that something you guys like? Because personally, part of the reason I like watching League, and I never got into watching, like, Halo or anything like that, is because I want to see the field of play, and I want it just a directed camera, just like when I'm watching any other major sport. Like, I see the field of play, I see multiple players, they are good enough, and they know when the action's going to happen, and they grab it all, and they talk about it, so I get to see it and take it all in. Or do you guys prefer being able to go, no, I want to watch this player and direct my camera and all that stuff? Like, where do you land on that?
I think okay, for certain things where I actually know what the fuck's happening, I would like to be Overwatch is maybe I know what's going on, but like for some other games I don't know what's going on. So Overwatch is the one that I would maybe like to direct myself, but every other game, especially like League, because I have no fucking idea what's happening, but I do kind of like to watch. So yeah, I think most people want the direct, like, maybe they don't say they want it because they're, oh, I know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah.
But no, they actually will enjoy the directed view more. But I don't know.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Just coming from somebody who's extremely lazy, I think I like the fact that I don't have to pay attention to know exactly what's happening on the map at any given time to make sure I'm paying attention to the most important thing that's going on. The directed cam in League during pro play is really nice for that, because I would obviously I play League myself. I pay attention to the lane I'm in or the lane I'm paying attention to at the moment, but that doesn't mean I have any idea what's going on throughout the rest
Fuck
of the
that
map.
mini-map. It's a waste of
So,
space.
For somebody who's awful at League, that's kind of where I sit. Is I kind of like the fact that I don't have to worry about, did I miss out on something? Am I gonna have to go back to watch it again?
I do actually like the option for other streamers to kind of just own the
Do their stream of
own
it.
the broad like if you're a streamer and you can broadcast this and you can control what you're looking at. If there's people like that are want your basically your personality or your insight, if you have specific insights for League, for top lane, or this specific character,
Yeah.
like, okay, I want to watch this guy because he's going to talk about his character, this top lane or whatever, but he's also going to look at over here and say, hey, this is why you should do this as this top laner or
Okay.
whatever, as a shield tank in Overwatch or something. Okay, this is why I'm doing this because of this, or why this professionals player is doing this because of this specific directive. It's just opening up the field to like not like how sports are. There's whatever network you're watching it on. That's the support. That's the casters.
And you can never
opinion.
get super focused because there's too many things going on to be like, okay, we're just gonna talk about this for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes
that's
sense.
how I feel personally. When I'm in the mood to watch a game played, I really enjoy a caster who knows what he's talking about, and it becomes like a really great training tool to see something happen, have it explained, and that makes it really easy for me to try and replicate it in my own game. So I don't really. I mean, I feel like I would get a lot from just watching gameplay footage of someone playing. But for the most part, I really do want to talk about it. That really helps me familiarize myself with the same mechanic.
Yeah. So outside of the you control the camera thing that we're seeing, some already do like Dota 2. Some are trying to introduce like Overwatch. As Tiger Claw mentioned, League on some specific games, like I don't think they do it so much in NA anymore. I think they still do it in EU, but they'll have a second stream that's like, okay, we're just gonna watch top lane and get like real specific, but that's still like directed and discussed. But that would be similar to like what you said, Sean, where like you could watch a streamer who does it or something. But outside of that sort of thing, what other interactive stuff are any games doing, or do you think would be a good idea to introduce into esports, like just to be better for a spectator or the audience as a whole, people who are just fans?
I mean, specifically for fighting games, because I don't really know. I don't know how League or whatever.
No,
For
go for it.
for more specific things besides having more directed commentary, like if I could see like frames, like hitbox highlights. I don't know if you've ever seen.
Yeah, like a training mode in Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
Where or
Yeah,
4
so you
and
can
5
see.
have it, right?
So if they could like they do in Dota 2, like especially for fighters, it would be super easy. There's way less information going on in fighter games than there is in shooters or MOBAs.
Yeah.
Like they could stream the entire.
What,
Basically, in client, you could see what
toggle
happens.
on and off hitbox.
Like by frame, like you could pause, like in
Ooh.
training mode by frame, you can go and see what the hitbox is, the red versus the blue, because sometimes they're secondary hitboxes. Like for me as a semi-competitive player, like I want to see all that information to see how the fuck did this happen when I expected something else to happen, because I know the intricacies of this one game, aka Smash. But for other people that know other games, I think that could pretty easily be implemented.
Yeah. And I don't know
I
if
think
that's possible with Dota 2, like with their in-client thing, but I like really specifically you mentioned like being able to like go frame by frame or whatever. Because like right now, when I watch League, I prefer to watch it on YouTube because I can pause and back it up 5 seconds and rewatch a team fight. Like I like to be able to self-highlight immediately because I don't know if they're going to show what I wanted to see or show it slow enough so I can show it, do it like 3 times and then just, catch up.
But that's like more advanced, so that's like a thing I would like to see.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any game that wouldn't benefit from the viewer to being able to like self-highlight, just be like, hey, I want to see that again. I want to see it in slow motion and I want to turn on, these numbers, these hitboxes, whatever, so that it's really apparent, like even in League, like if they don't have there's certain numbers that'll pop up. Like they show the damage numbers still, like when they're large things, but they don't show everything. It's like, oh yeah, maybe I want to toggle all of that on. or be able to click on whichever player to see what all their cooldowns were at that time or something. And yeah, with the hitboxes in a fighting game and all that.
Yeah.
That would be
Exports of-
awesome.
I think that for all of these like stream things that we were previously talking about, they need to export all game data instead of exporting VODs. Like, it's not, they're just too big. You don't need a video recording of all this when you have all the assets somewhere else. Like, you just need the individual information. All the games are just a big ass array of stats, basically.
Right.
So,
Now, I guess
exactly.
Here's a question. If you want to have these kind of features, you would have to watch in client.
Yeah.
Now, would you want to have like an in-client view as well as being able to just watch on like Twitch and YouTube, and that's like just the directed one that everybody's used to right now?
Well,
or
I
would you just make everything in client?
No. Well, I would assume there would still be the regular the pro streamer, like the streamers, and then the YouTube video people. But so those things exist. But
Right. But I mean, for like the leagues, the professional competitions that are hosted, would they do all that in client or not? Because I mean, we're talking esports. We're not talking streamers. That's kind of different.
It would be hard it would be hard to convince a company to invest the time to allow a third party to export a backup of their data.
Right? No, that's not what I'm saying. So to do all that stuff, like to do the replays, to do hitboxes, all that stuff, that would have to be in client. So
Yes.
do you say 100% of Pro Scene League of Legends, or whenever Nintendo holds a Smash event, whatever, all those things, 100% of viewers have to watch it in client in the game? Or do you do what already exists, the normal stuff still on YouTube, Twitch as a stream, and then if you want the in-depth experience, you have to go in client?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because like the regular stuff already doesn't require any of the video,
Right.
besides Dota's crap, they don't require any of the companies like Nintendo to do anything. They just record the video, the HDMI output stream,
Yeah.
and then they export
Well,
that.
I'm not talking about what's necessary. I'm just saying, what do you think would be better, to have like just localize everybody into just the client, or to like have these two different things going
I just
on?
don't think it would be necessary to do like the only thing.
Yeah, I was
like-
saying, because personally, if I have to watch League of Legends Pro Play on the League client, I'm less likely to watch it.
Yeah.
So like what I was thinking is the streamers are if they're trying to do the in-depth analysis. Otherwise, you're watching the live game. If you're trying to do the in-depth crap with where the highlighting is, all that stuff, hitboxes, whatever you want to call it, the streamers that are showing that, or if you're watching it yourself, are in the client themselves.
Okay, yeah. So I
Stream
wasn't even thinking about
somebody's
like,
client experience or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
so it would
if
be
you're
you streaming your in-client watching of the event, but you'd be doing
with
your
the
own stream of
hitboxes.
it.
if I'm a streamer, if I'm just if I'm a very knowledgeable player
Right,
and
exactly,
I want to know
yeah.
it for myself, then I do it. I just don't stream it. I just watch it in the client and I pause frame by frame, do my whatever I want.
Right. But if you're a streamer and you want to like host that and be
Yes.
educational, okay, that I didn't even think of that. That'd be really cool too.
That'd be cool too.
Because then if people are like, oh, I like watching Sean break down, Lucina play, I'm gonna watch his stream during this Smash event so that he can go, okay, hold on, we're gonna back this up and break down this this thing here. That's cool. But I mean, of course, like from a company standpoint, if it's a league that's backed by the developer, whether that be like Riot or Blizzard, with their leagues, at that point you start fragmenting your viewer base. And if you're using any sort of ad revenue, that value starts going down, which is a downside from a corporate standpoint.
That's another hard sell that I was also thinking of. Like, how the fuck are you gonna sell this to somebody? Like, why is this gonna make them money? Besides the fact that they're hopefully gonna have longevity, but if everyone else is doing it, then that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So.
Although if you just allow people to not live stream it, but they can, put up their VODs afterwards, be like, hey, if you're live streaming during the competition, we're gonna fucking hit your shit. But if you like do a stream or VOD afterwards, like then we'll let it fly or something. Then you get all sorts of complicated shit. That's not even part of what makes the esport itself good.
Yeah, I also think around that whole legality topic is going to be everything's fucking copyrighted, but if you want your game to be popular, you need it not.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Nintendo finally figured that out recently.
Yeah,
They
just
changed
this
their
past
whole
year.
approach. Well, it's so funny because it was about a month and a half ago, or no, it was just like a month ago when we're like, man, we're halfway through January, we haven't had a direct yet or whatever, and somebody was posing, they're like, hey, so it was in December or whatever that Nintendo changed their like YouTube policy where they're not just like copyright striking everything immediately. It's like, hey, we're being normal fucking people. Somebody said, they're like, I think Mario Maker 2 is coming because that is the one game that people will make a million fucking hours of videos for and post because all of the custom levels, and if they're still copyright striking the shit out of that game, one, the community is going to get sour and backlash, and two, you won't sell as much copies just because it's free advertising. But so I think the same goes for esports though, to a point. Like, I mean, anybody who likes hockey, football, basketball, soccer, like, we've all watched videos of awesome plays on YouTube.
Yeah.
We've all fucking done that.
The NFL does not. What? Oh god damn it! The NFL does not allow.
Do not copy or reproduce this broadcast without the express written consent of the NFL.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
But it's everywhere.
Oh yeah. But I mean, so that was. I don't know. Like, it's interesting. Are there any games that are popular, like esports wise, popular right now that you think will die soon? Or that aren't popular, or, you know, genres that aren't popular yet that you think might be up and coming as an esport?
Tough one.
I personally, I think Smash Ultimate will overtake Melee and actually hold on to that space. I think it's fast enough and aggressive enough that it has like all the characters from Melee on top of that.
Yeah.
But I think people will enjoy it, and Melee has at this point not only really run its course like lengthwise,
Metagame too.
but the metagame is, I mean, it's been stagnant for 6 years. Like, every now and then one player is really good at one thing and they come in, but otherwise it's like, hey, are you Fox or Marth? Okay, then nobody gives a shit. You know? So I think Ultimate's going to overtake Melee and actually hold on to that, personally.
Yeah. And Ultimate isn't fucking broken like Melee was.
I mean, Smash 4 took the main stage at Evo. Yeah, Evo.
Yeah.
It already
Last
took it over
year, or
Melee.
like its first year?
No, last year.
Okay, it was still okay.
Yeah, so it actually took the bigger space. But regardless,
Now, did it take the main stage because people were prepping for Ultimate, do you think? Or because people are sick of Melee?
I think the interest was, I think it was like voted or money or wise or something. I don't know what it was.
That's good then.
Um,
Do you think any of the Battle Royale games are going to stick around or get popular as an esport?
I don't know. I think Apex has a chance, but I do think there's another game on the horizon that it's not really done yet.
You don't know it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised like Battle Right didn't take off.
And it just became free, I believe. I believe they just made it
Yeah.
a completely free game now.
Which one was Battle
Oh,
Royale?
really?
I don't even
That
remember.
was the one that was this mini arena. But I guess I don't know how to explain it.
It's like if you're playing League, but you're only playing against other heroes, and you're 1v1 arena.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
One
Part
game
two.
whose popularity I'm
Oh,
Dead or
you,
Alive 6.
you cut out there, at least for me.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
I think one future game that's coming out soon whose popularity I'm interested in seeing is Dead or Alive 6, because I think it's going to be a big one for fighting game community in particular.
Do you think it's going to overtake Street Fighter? Because, I mean, right now Street Fighter has a lockdown on the 2D fighting, it seems. Like, even MK11 hasn't unseated it. Or
And
MK10
MK11
didn't, I mean, sorry.
MK10 didn't. MK11 might. Again, that's another one that I'm really interested to see. I really am excited to see what the esports community does with both those games, because it would be Dead or Alive's first opportunity to actually be in the spotlight for this kind of thing. It's always kind of been in the shadows, taboo. But I'm interested to see what future game learns the lesson from the mistakes that these games are making and makes a truly awesome game. That's what I think in the future.
Yeah. Do you guys think Overwatch is actually going to stick around, or will the teams that paid so much to get into that league vastly regret it in like 2-3 years when it's gone? Like, I mean, it could stick around forever and be worth it, or that league could die a slow but actually quick death.
Yeah. Heroes of the Storm pro players regret it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't have a league. Like, that's the thing.
season?
Like, Overwatch, the whole thing is like, hey, we did a league. There's a huge buy-in, so we have a lot of money. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So real quick on the 2D fighter thing, I think there's going to be another, because I don't know. I feel like there's be a contender that we don't know who it is to blow up the scene.
A new game or like a sequel that we're just not thinking about?
Unless they get crazy, I would bet a new game. But because I don't know, like I try to get into those games. I think the barrier to entry there is a little high. Even though they're lowering it, but they're lowering it in the wrong way. They're like not. They're making the skill moves easier, but they're not making the regular fighting easier. So they need to leave the skill moves where they are, like the combos where you have to just know what's going on, but make the like regular footsies easier. Like I just don't like. It's just harder for me to deal with that.
I feel like that's the reason Street Fighter has the lock right now. Is it's probably the simplest complex fighter out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the most like you can get into it. Most people know what's going on when they're watching,
And they
this
know the
stream.
characters, which helps.
They know the characters too because the style has not changed.
And you got something outside of fighting games, Sean?
No, I was gonna go back to the Overwatch thing.
Oh yeah.
I think unless another hero fighter genre is a great genre, and I do think Blizzard will eventually figure it out. I think right now it's just too boring of a game. It's very straight. Like the metas are there's always one meta, like, and the counterplay is almost nothing. Like right now they have the Reinhardt, Lucio shield.
Yeah,
like,
it's always like triple tank meta, or like it's like, oh, you need 2 of these characters always, you know.
yeah, it does change, but it's always one of them. There's only one that works.
Yeah.
So
there's a prevalent meta that's like massively prevalent.
Yeah, they have a decent hand. Recently, they've been buffing more than they've been nerfing, which I like. But they also have an insane amount of CC, which is not like always a bad thing in games. But the CC in these games in Overwatch is just not fun. Like you don't know what the fuck's happening. They're just bouncing all over the place. Like
You're getting
I
frozen
think,
and you hate life.
Yeah.
no, I think May's freeze is like one of the. I mean, it's not fun to get frozen, but it's the most straightforward thing.
Yeah, it's straightforward.
It
It's
is very
obnoxious.
Yeah, but like when you're getting bounced off by like
Lucio launches you, yeah.
Lucio launches and Junkrat grenade and then
Wrecking Ball and
wrecking ball and our Arissa's
I
thing.
haven't even played with like him really, so I don't know that pain, but I can imagine it.
I'd say
So-
Sombra is probably the biggest character in that game. Not get any pro play.
Because all of a sudden you can't do shit.
yeah,
Well,
she's got a silence.
And she can do it over and over. And
Yeah, I think she does like I think, but you have to get the shield. Like she's so frail, and you have to get behind to get through the shield. Like she's, I mean, I like the way they're going with that, but she's not strong enough. But then she all of a sudden you buff her a little bit, she's way overpowered. So they have like, just like the Mercy, how they reworked Mercy. Like
Mercy's been reworked like every patch.
yeah.
Like,
So I
they
think
don't know what to do with it.
Go ahead.
I think that if they can somehow figure their shit out, then Overwatch will stick around. But I think another hero shooter will take them over. Not Paladins.
So this takes me back to game mode that I loved even back in like Halo days. I think a hero shooter that was a capture the flag game would be so much fun to watch.
I was thinking capture the flag too, actually.
I've always enjoyed capture the flag games. Like some of my favorite memories of Halo were the Halo 3 beta and 2v2 capture the flag. Like that shit was so fun. I would watch that. That would be so fun to watch. But I don't know. I think you're right. Like hero shooters, I feel like Overwatch doesn't like scratch that itch for me as far as like viewing goes. But I'm not sure what needs to be different about it to like for a different game to like scratch that itch for me.
I think if it was a little bit more spread out, I don't know if you've done Quake Quake's
Quake
Overwatch,
used to be a huge esport. They
no, but
did
yeah.
Quake Champions recently, and it's just not a game style people like anymore. It seems.
Quake is it Quake Champions? It's an Overwatch style game. I don't know
I mean, it's not a team game.
There is a version of it.
Oh,
that
is
a
there?
team game.
But
Yeah.
still, it's just deathmatch, though, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure it was. I thought it was.
Because Quake Champions was just like a year or two ago, and it's just deathmatch. Like there's still different characters, but it's good old classic Quake.
Yeah.
You might be thinking of Unreal Tournament.
Unreal Tournament. I'm sorry.
Oh man, that game was
that
so
and that
good.
hasn't been around as a popular esport in a long time, and that thing was huge.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like somebody could do it better. I don't know what I would do. Maybe spread it out a little more. Make kill time. I mean, I like Paladins a little bit because kill time is a little higher, so you know what the fuck's happening, but also it is sometimes crazy to kill people. I think if healing was a little stronger in Overwatch and shields weren't as strong, then like you could have more intense fights where it's like, oh my god, this healer just saved this guy's life because he healed him through this, but then somebody else died for it. I don't know. That's just a maybe. I don't know if that would even work.
Any other thoughts on games or genres that are upcoming or dying?
MMOs are dying.
Well, no, in esports.
Arena.
Yeah, but
Arena's
it's not an MMO anymore when you're talking about the arenas. It's a team battle game that uses MMO characters.
I'm just sad about MMOs. Okay.
Shelp, you
Yeah, I
seem
don't
like you
know.
have a thought.
Well, just the way I feel about League, poor spot, but I feel like
the
esports
way you feel about
wise,
what? You cut out there.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, the way I feel about League like currently as a
Oh.
League player, I don't feel like it's in a good spot for a majority of everyday players. I think there's still a large player base that still think it's in a great spot, but I know there's a lot that don't. But I feel that esports this last split for League has been I believe one of the best splits they've had in a very long time.
Yeah.
So I it may be losing the player base, the everyday player base a little, but the esport is blooming and it's a little bizarre to me.
Well, like when I see the complaints about the current state of League, it's generally former pro players. It's somebody like I Will Dominate, being like, "Oh, it was so much better in Season 3." No, you were just making more money from this game in Season 3 because you were a pro.
Well,
the game's
but that's
better
the thing.
now. But
And honestly, he's making more money streaming. A lot of them are.
well,
now.
if he was playing still, because they make a lot more
Yeah.
money as pros now
Correct.
than they used to. I mean,
So it's like the game. They don't like the game because they're not in it making money anymore.
yeah,
so.
that's how I feel. It comes off anyway. But
Like
yeah.
they're still making a good amount of money, but it's like, well, yeah, you could have made more money doing that than doing what you're doing. Because honestly, if you think about it, a lot of the people that stream are doing it for the money, and that's it. They don't like it as much as they used to when they used to play pro and do streaming on the side, as opposed to a full-time stream.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because like, yeah, when you're playing as a pro, like you spend more of your life playing the game because it's long days and just practice
Actual
and then
practice.
games and all that. It's just like any sport. Like
Mm-hmm.
it consumes a lot of your life during the season. But like streamers, your season is all fucking year, and two, like you're performing. Like you have to be in front of people the whole time. Like if you're playing with your team and scrimming or playing solo queue, you can have a shit day and nobody has to see that besides your team, and that's fine because they all have a shit day too. But when like 8,000 people see you like being a douche because you had a bad day, like that sucks. So
Yeah.
I get that. Oh man, no, I think League's in a good spot. I think Overwatch definitely needs to figure some stuff out, especially their all access pass. And I think we can all agree that Battle Royale games will be a better game and esport if they introduce the Saints Row 3 mid-air fight on your drop-in.
Correct.
Like, it should just be like a 2 minutes of you dropping and just fighting. Maybe like 1 minute. Maybe 1 minute.
You should start out with a pistol and you can shoot people with parachutes or the fly things.
Yeah.
And then just fall and die.
I mean, I think that's
That would be-
unless somebody has something else, I think that's the perfect note to end on. Introduce Saints Row 3.
I want Overwatch / MOBA where it's an actual skill shooter, but it's a MOBA where you can buy items.
That would be cool.
Okay. What?
because the Paragon was kind
I
of
was saying
like
that
but-
existed and you loved it.
No,
but it's gone now.
no, but it wasn't actually like the hitboxes were like fucking 3 characters big. I'm talking about an actual
Oh.
reticle.
Okay.
Like,
So an FPS, like a legit FPS MOBA.
Yes, MOBA.
Not like-
that should
not
be
like Smite.
Bungie's
But not like
second
Smite.
project. There you go.
Destiny, kind of like Destiny. Let me see.
Like
Destiny wasn't a MOBA
if,
though.
if you made a Destiny MOBA,
Destiny MOBA.
Didn't they? Don't they have a? They have a
it'd be set items in the shop rather than drops.
fire
though.
versus fire.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
there's a
lanes or
PvP
whatever.
mode, but it's Halo.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Halo. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well,
It's
there,
a
there we go.
FPS.
That's what we need. We need a Destiny 3 MOBA, and we need Saints Row 3 drop in for Battle
Drop in.
Royale, and everything's gonna be good in esports, guys. I think
Yeah.
that solves it right there.
Yeah.
So, on that note, we're gonna wrap up this episode 2 of Yeti Set Go, and episode 3 will be in another 2 weeks. So, everybody, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yep.
Yo.
Bye.
Mhm.